So new this morning, we are verifying the claim that earthquakes can be predicted.
And Tim is here now. He's going to explain if that claim is true. Hey, Tim.
Hey, good morning, guys. Worldwide in 2017, there were nearly 1,600 earthquakes. That averaged out to about 4 earthquakes per day. And not only are they one of the costliest natural disasters, but they also strike without any warning. But new technology, software, and even phone apps claim to be able to predict earthquakes. We want to know, is that even possible? First, let's understand what causes an earthquake. The Earth's crust is comprised of massive tectonic plates that sit over the mantle, basically a big pool of molten lava. These plates shift and collide with one another almost daily. When this impact occurs, earthquakes are felt at the surface in locations on or near a fault line, or where two plates meet. To verify if scientists can predict when this will happen, I turn to Michael Blampied with the United States Geological Survey.
So what we would love to be able to do is predict when and where and how big an earthquake is going to be with enough time, whether that's minutes or months or whatever, in order to be able to do something about it. And the scientific community, the seismological community has been trying to achieve that for decades. And at this point, we are no farther along toward doing that.
So, we can verify the claim that an earthquake can be predicted is false. The thought process of earthquake prediction may seem simple. 67 in Newport News right now, but 72 global. I mean, we predict the weather, so why not earthquakes? But with weather, we can see the complete picture, as we know the state of the atmosphere, the effects of the winds and sunlight on global patterns, etc. With earthquakes, there's no way to get down into the layers of the earth and observe what's going on. What we can do is detect an earthquake as it's happening and give early warning to surrounding areas. How do we do this? Through a vast network of seismometers all over the world. Satellites that can detect the slightest ground movement as well.
That gives time to then send warnings ahead before the strong shakings actually reach major portions of the population. So we call that earthquake early warning.
Now, this is a system that is already in use in places like Japan and Mexico City and will be built for the west coast of the United States. That is, if it gets completely funded. That's still up in the air, guys.